Hey guys, I'm out in the garden and I wanted to give you a quick garden update. My garden's not huge by any means, but I know some people are following what I'm doing. And it's a little shady yet because the sun hasn't gotten up over the trees over here. Blind you for a minute there. Some of the things we're doing today is we're trying to dig out some baby bananas because I've got a few barters I'm doing with the baby banana trees, as well as giving some back to the friend who gave me these because hers aren't doing so good. So she's going to get some good healthy stock back and try and grow some bananas. And the shock this morning when we came out and start piddling around the garden is, look at this. These are a small cluster of bananas coming in. We are in, today is January 4th, I believe. And yes, we are still getting fruit. So this banana is doing very, very well. And that was a pod that I hadn't seen. Here's the flower. I'm going to let it continue to develop some more bananas. If we get frost, we'll lose them, but they'll grow back because the root of a banana is where the baby trees come from. And they'll regrow every single year quite ferociously if you look at my banana patch here. I mean, look at these guys. They're huge. Now, this tree right here is going to come down today because that one's already put off bananas, so it's actually done producing, and the ones next to it are all its babies. So that tells me we're going to have an awesome year this coming year for bananas as well. Now here's the shock. I'm going to try and go over as much of the garden as I can. We've had to prop this one up in just a few days time, unbeknownst to us. I don't know if you can see this. This is my hand. We've got a massive banana flower. Massive. Now, I'm not too concerned because I don't think we're going to have a really cold winter here. But if this fills up with bananas, it's literally, this is my path to get to my chicken coop. I'm going to have to redirect my path down here to get around this till it's done doing what it's going to do for bananas. But look at the size of this flower. This is probably 5 times the size of my other flowers. Now, my first question is why? And then I'm going to show you why. This is the base of the tree right next to the girls, my chickens. So the chickens, even though this tree is not in the coop, it is fertilizing this coop of chickens. I mean, the chickens are fertilizing the bananas. It can't work the other way around, but the girls do love to forage underneath the banana trees when they're loose. I mean, this tree is spectacular. I mean, the leaves are, I can't even tell you. If I had to build an emergency shelter, these leaves would definitely be a go-to. The only problem is this, they split real easy, but it is what it is. Now, if you remember, not even a month ago, I don't think, or maybe a little over a month, I cut my rosemary. Look at this rosemary. It's back as full as it was before. So again, it's time to give the rosemary a haircut. I also planted some thyme that I was given in my last barter. I've got several of it planted in the garden and it's doing spectacular. This is a dinosaur kale left over from early summer planting, and it all but died off, and now look at it. It's doing awesome. I have a few tomatoes in here. It's a little shady for them. These are not grown from seeds. These are suckers that I took off of that row of tomatoes over there. So as I'm suckering, I'm replanting to keep the food coming. When those plants are done, because I believe they're determinate, which means there's a time frame. When they're done producing, they're done. So having those suckers going means I will have tomatoes continuously, and that's the goal, continuous food supply. This is another thyme, and let me tell you, you put one of these in your mouth and it is full of oils, and oh my gosh, it is just amazing. It's overwhelmingly powerful too. I haven't figured out what to cook with it yet though. So I have 3 of these plants. I have one available for a barter if I can find somebody wanting to barter. This is the mustard greens. Again, nice big leaves. Look how healthy these are. There's nobody nibbling on them, nothing. I'm going to grow more of these. I'm going to actually start some more seeds because this is a great green to have. It's a tender green when you cook it compared to cooking kale or even collards. This is such a tender, nice green to have. So that's a great green, and that's a mustard green. And over here, I have a few weeds, as you can see. I'm not too worried about the weeds because they're so few and far between. I just pull them out. And a lot of times I'll throw them in the chicken coop. This here is my dill. If I had known they were not going to spread out and get huge, because this is my first time growing dill, I would have planted them differently. I am actually considering transplanting some of these into an aquaponics herb garden, which I'm in the process of getting my aquaponics set up. So that's the start. This is what's left of the basil. Not too good right now. I might cut all those flowers off and try and propagate and get a new plant going. Tomatoes. None on these that I've seen, but I have almost 30 tomatoes on the vine right now in January in Florida. And these, again, were some plants that, oh, there's a little guy. There's one. So these are getting tomatoes. Awesome. Everything's flowering and doing really good. We had a really good cold snap last night, which, to be honest, tomatoes absolutely love when it cools off. So just because summer's gone, don't pull your tomatoes out. If anything, midsummer, get some tomatoes going again, because they'll love fall and possibly even a mild winter. You will still get tomatoes. People underestimate a tomato plant. These are peanuts growing, and this was just, I have a parrot. We buy her raw peanuts. I threw some in the garden, and since then I haven't been able to get them all out of the garden, but that's okay. Peanuts are a good ground cover and a good ground crop. This is a volunteer tomato, so this is probably a cherry tomato because most years that's what I grow. Over here, this is, as you can see, not pretty. We got some banana leaves here. This is the compost. As you see, unfortunately, I got a lot of bananas laying there. They got ripe and I had absolutely no freezer space for them. So they ended up going bad on me, and that's a bummer. I have some kind of squash growing out of the compost, which is wonderful. And then I also have these guys growing out of the compost, which I'm not sure what they are, but there's a lot of stuff coming in from the compost. I let them come in if they're going to produce. This is the place for them to be because it's the healthiest soil I have is in this pile right here. Do I compost in a bin? No. I am not set up that way. So what I'm doing is, this is a 4-foot by 8-foot garden that I don't grow things in. So this year, this is my compost pile. Next year, we will finish framing it out, and I'll throw some leaves and stuff and mix it all up and have an amazing garden for production. This is a volunteer tomato. If I have to guess, it's going to be a cherry, only because cherry tomatoes have been what I've been growing as a norm here in the garden. Last year I had a huge cherry tomato crop. This is one of my most favorite garden beds right now. I shouldn't say that. I have several. I love my garden. But this is my kale. It's just getting nice. This cold snap, it looks like you should just pick it and chew on it and eat it. It looks that delicious. And I had thinned some of this out, and then I moved some down and around. I just kind of filled in any gaps and holes I had. And I could probably do some more, but right here is a little tiny one. It may make it, it may not, but we're going to give it a shot. There's little ones all through here, under here, over here, over there. I pulled some and put some in with the cabbage. So we'll have a lot of kale this year, and kale will cook as a cooked green, but I also will put it in smoothies and juice it. So there's many ways of using kale. These are cabbages. In fact, this is a double whammy here. I might have to separate those two. I don't know if it's too late to do it, but I'll try. But there's my favorite looking one. Absolute beautiful cabbage there. Now I try not to walk on my garden beds because they don't like their roots compacted, so we don't walk in here if we don't have to. Oh, I missed some beans. There's some beans there. I did pick beans. As you can see, I'm getting ready to pull my beans out. They're about done, and I might just take a few like that and replant them. But I'm going to keep them up higher here because I want to put something else right in this section here. So I might put some more beans in here just, again, to keep the vegetables going for the winter. And that's the goal. Keep the food production coming. And over here, my blueberries, you can see they're kind of dying back a little bit. It's winter here. But they like to be wet roots, and I just learned that. So I'm going to change that setup to something else. I didn't realize they were a bog plant, and now that I'm learning they are, wet roots are a must for a blueberry. And this is my garlic. I don't know if I'm going to get any. I recently learned that garlic growing in Florida usually they do not go well together, so that might not happen. I got a big patch of purslane. Purslane is a wild edible, and if I get an area that I'm not growing anything in, this was growing potatoes in here, but I don't see where it looks like the plants already died out, so I'm not sure what's going on with those. Potatoes I think are going to be hard for me as well. But this is purslane. It's a wild edible. I leave it grow where I can because when I'm out here, I'll actually be snacking on this. And if you're not learning your wild edibles, I'd recommend that you do. In an SHTF situation, a wild edible could save your life. Meat may not be readily available. Learn to eat your greens. And these two beauties, I don't usually do well with peppers, but I've changed my gardening technique. The last year and a half, I got a huge load of wood chips. I added it to all my gardens. I put it between the gardens in the rows. I'm just trying to enrich the soil, and the results are the crops are coming in really, really good with less pest problem and hardly any disease. I haven't seen any. And this is a green pepper. I picked one this morning, but there she is. Beautiful green pepper. So, and I have another pepper plant back here. There are more flowers coming in, so these are going to keep going. Peppers, again, people tend to pull them at the end of summer. Do not pull your plants unless they're dead, because peppers actually like cool weather as well. So we do really well down here in Florida with pepper crops in the winter time. Strawberries is a winter crop down here, so they like the cooler temperatures as well. So keep that in mind when you're gardening. If you can get a load of wood chips, get it in and on your garden beds when you have nothing planted. When you go to plant something, what you do is you just pull them back and you get down to your soil. As you can see, my soil is sand, and breaking down of the wood chips makes a compost. It encourages worms and other things that are really beneficial to your garden. It's a biomass that is really, really important. Even these little sticks and stuff, I let it all in there now. If I pull weeds, like you can see I pulled some weeds this morning, I don't pull them out of the garden. They're not seeding, so I'm laying them back in the garden. Why? Because they will decompose and actually feed the garden. Oh, look, I just found 2 more tomato volunteers. Now these I might actually let them come up next to the pepper. I might separate them a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with having a pepper and a tomato growing side by side. The only thing I'll have to do is get a piece of bamboo. And support that tomato. And I have no problem doing that. But yeah, when you pull weeds, we just throw them on top. The sun will hit them, it'll kill them, and then off we go to some more production. Here's another volunteer tomato. Now, when I say volunteer, that means it's not anything I planted on purpose. It means that when my garden had tomatoes in last year, the tomatoes that fell on the ground, unless I gave them to the chickens or the chickens got them, the seeds got into the ground and they're just now sprouting, which means this is from last winter. These tomatoes are coming in from last winter. And to me, that's a free plant. You cannot put a dollar value on free produce plants. When these get big enough, they will put off suckers, and then you take the suckers and you get more free tomato plants. It's really a no-brainer to me on getting this garden up and running. Now, this year I really focused on beefsteak tomatoes because I absolutely could not grow a beefsteak tomato that I was buying at the grocery store. So I bought heirloom seeds, and I started my seeds myself, and this whole row is my tomatoes, and this is where I have the 30-some tomatoes on the vines. I've already picked one and eaten it. It was absolutely delicious. So I'm hoping to get more. And one of the things I do, if you look over there, look at all those leaves in there. Those leaves are from my neighbor's tree right there. I pick up his leaves and throw it in my garden. Why? Because they'll decompose, they'll make biomass, they'll feed my plants. I don't have to buy fertilizer. I don't have to buy plant food. My soil is getting healthier every time I'm adding any type of biomass to it. And that's my goal. Now, just down here, let's see if I can get up. I got down and it's harder for me to get up today. There we go. We got carrots. We got a little patch here. I threw these in with spinach. The spinach did not do well at all, so I might have to plant them in a sunnier spot. But the carrots are doing fabulous. I got beautiful carrot tops. So we'll see if we get any carrots out of that this year. Growing carrots in sandy soil is an absolutely awesome thing to be able to do because they put down a straight piece of fruit or vegetable, and it grows straight, which is really great. Now check this out. Look at these beauties. This is something, if you can grow in your area, I highly recommend. It's a nitrogen fixer. It's pigeon peas. And if you can see, it's putting off pea pods. This year I am going to can these, and it looks like I'm going to have a huge harvest. I mean, look at all these flowers. Huge harvest of pigeon peas. And once these peas are put out their product, I'm going to cut this way back. Everything I cut off this tree will go down to the bottom of other plants and trees for biomass. Now, I'm crawling underneath my trees. These are my sweet potatoes. I planted them underneath the pigeon peas. I planted them close to my trees so that they don't get mowed over or weed whacked. And here's another sweet potato vine. Here's another one. Absolutely beautiful. And here's another one. Awesome. This one I have underneath my key lime tree. So I'm going to keep planting them. I got more to put in the ground, so I'm going to keep doing it. As long as things are doing well, I'm going to keep expanding. I've been a little slower this year than I had hoped due to unforeseen circumstances, and we all go through that. But yeah, there's a tomato. There's a tomato. There's a tomato. I just love it. I'm thinking this end is getting too much shade, but this end I've got 20-some tomatoes at this end. These are all beefsteaks. There's that big boy under there. He's getting big. I don't know if you can see him, but he's there. But yeah, garden's coming along great. As I said, it's not much space, but we get enough food out of this little space to keep us going within reason, you know. Once the tomatoes come in, I stop buying tomatoes. Once the kale comes in, I stop buying kale. And, you know, it's the same thing with herbs. I haven't bought rosemary in years. Basil, I haven't bought basil in years. I won't need to buy thyme. And if I wanted to, I could probably take some of that thyme and get a thyme oil, but I don't know what the benefits of doing that would be. It's a research project I have to do. The girls are happy. I had 3 eggs this morning when I got out here, which means they're doing awesome. And they're getting a lot of scraps that I didn't ever think to give to chickens, but I do now. So things are coming along. And I started another experiment with the pond, and I'll talk to you about that in a different video, because that's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, everything's doing good. All my plants are thriving. All my baby trees are getting big. Hopefully we'll get fruit in a few years from some of these. These are my moringas right here. That's a moringa. That's a another nitrogen fixer, but it's also a superfood. So those are great in smoothies as well. You have to be careful because they're a little pungent. So you add them to your smoothie and you could get a smoothie that you don't really care for. But we cut this tree way back because it was interfering with the gardens and the bananas. And you see by cutting it back, that tree put off bananas. This one might have to come down. It serves no purpose. There's some more bananas. This is an area I'm going to plant some sweet potatoes all through here. I'm feeling it would be a good spot for them. Papayas. I got papayas up there right now. It's a good 20-foot tall tree, I think. This one died out, so we'll take this down. Real easy, I think. Yep. And that will just get laid up along the edge of one of these sets of trees. Again, biomass. The blackberries are still doing good. These are the blackberries. They have thorns, so at some point I'm going to get rid of them and get the thornless ones. This is my mango tree. This is a golden mango, and it's doing fantabulous. I am so happy with this tree. It's got some beautiful branching going on. I haven't pruned it or topped it yet, but it's getting to the size now. Yeah, it's about 2 foot taller than me now. So it's time to top it and start making it branch out. By pruning and topping a tree, you're going to make it branch out. By branching out, you're going to get more fruit production. Fruit production you can reach, and that's the key. My loquat's getting taller, so that's coming along nicely. I'm in heavy shade again, so the citrus is doing really good. It had some kind of thing going on here, but the new growth looks beautiful, so it's doing better than it was. And this loquat's got some issues, but I don't think it's dying because it's got new leaves on it. But yeah, that's the creek I talk about. It's full of duckweed all through there. It's just along the edges right now. It hasn't covered anything because the water's moving. Here's my other citrus. Again, new leaves look better than the old leaves, so that's good. What I didn't realize is, and most people don't realize, is citrus likes shade. If I had known that, these guys would have been planted underneath the shade of an oak tree. But they love shade. This is my stand of bamboo. It's kind of really taken off this year. We really weren't doing good with it. And we've had it about 3 years now. But it took off this year. Let's take a walk up here. This is my fence line. I'm tempted to plant this because nobody's living in this house right now. The house is for sale if you want to be my neighbor. Alright. This is my cerium cherry. And that seems to be doing absolutely great. I'd like to get this to grow up straight. I might have to put a stake in there to hold that limb up, because right now it lays out and it kind of crosses the property line, and I don't want anybody cutting it off, so I might just tie those limbs together to pull that up. We'll see. This is another citrus. This one has thorns on, so I'm pretty confident this is a lemon or a lime tree, and it's doing beautiful. All these trees have doubled in size since I put them in. This is another mango tree. And as you can see, once again, absolutely beautiful little tree. I'm excited. My trees are doing really good. So that's the update on the garden for now. I still have pineapples, but they're not doing anything, so there's no point talking about them. They're just there. And I'm thinking about finding something to plant along this wall here to shade this wall out, because my bedroom sits right here and it's the hottest room of the house. And I know it's because when the sun gets over this house, this wall's heated all afternoon before we go to bed. But yeah, it's a process. And these plants here will help to some degree. But that's the garden update. Y'all have a blessed day.